There are techniques. Hack means there are so many words for that. What happens? Is it like you can take remote connection? Is it like you can grab information from the target? Or is it like you can remotely control the device? There are different things, right? The word hack is just a generic word. There are so many things that can happen under hack, right? You got hacked, anything hacked. If I know your bank account number in some other way, means I saw your bank account number on your computer when you are using it or when you open a document, then you are hacked. What happened there? I got some sensitive information. That is also hacked. How I got that information? While you are using that computer, you opened a document, I saw that particular bank account number. That is also hacked. No tools required. We call it as social engineering. Going very specific, shoulder
Recording in progress.
right? పక్కన కూర్చొని చూస్తున్నా నేను ఓపెన్ చేసినాం అదే that is also considered as an attack, right? So it depends on what is happening, what is the severity, right? And so on. Now let's move on to Metasploit and perform this. All of you start doing it along with me. We'll use Metasploit framework for exploiting this vulnerability in the RDP service. So let's load Metasploit framework. So as I'm starting Metasploit for the first time on boot, I'm going to start PostgreSQL database 2. Service PostgreSQL start. Once done, we are going to start Metasploit console. So this is the vulnerability that exists in Windows older versions, Windows 7 specifically, identified 10 years ago. So there is a patch Microsoft already released, but patch update, right? If they are not properly managing the systems, right? If the system administrator is not patching all these vulnerabilities, there the problems coming. So the patch number for this is MS12020. Or if you search for MS12020. People who are online can actually use your own Windows 7 device for this practice. People who are offline can target my Windows 7. So there are two modules that you can see. Out of these two modules, the first module is just a checker. Means it will verify whether the target is actually vulnerable for this exploit or not. So let's verify that. How to verify? First load that module, exploit U0. This is an auxiliary module. Let us verify options. The module that I have loaded is auxiliary scanner RDP MS12020 check. And as you can see, the exploit automatically came up with this R host and R port configured to 3389 because that is the port where RDP service runs. You can read the information related to this by running info. This module checks the range of hosts for this vulnerability. And this does not cause a DOS on the target. It will not cause DOS attack on the target. It will just verify. How it is going to verify? It is going to check whether the RDP port is open or not. What is the operating system that is running there? Is this particular version of RDP vulnerable for it or not? That's it. It will check that and let you know whether it is vulnerable or not. So let's go on to the target and identify the IP address. It is 241. So people who are offline, configure the IP address. So set our host to 192.168.0.241. Right? And run the exploit, run the module and tell me what is the result. if I execute it by running exploit or run. See, here there is no payload. Why there is no payload? DOS attacks will not give any reverse connection or bind connection or something else. There is no point of payloads here. It is just an auxiliary that require where is your target, so it can go there and verify. Are you all seeing the same message? Right? So cannot reliably check the exploitability. Can anyone tell me reason why? Am I able to reach the target device? Let's go and check. Ping 192.168.0.241. I'm able to reach the target, but I'm not able to exploit it. Can anyone tell me why? What can be the reason? Firewall on. Okay. Any other reason? See, the service is vulnerable, means that port should be opened there and allowed through firewall, right? So simply knowing that the target is a Windows 7, you can't exploit, right? Have you ever saw what is the operating system that this pollution checking people use, right? Next time when you go there, you observe that most of them use Windows XP device. You know how to exploit Windows XP? MS 08067, or they will use Windows 7, that was a pirated version, same like this. Then what kind of attack you can do? What kind of attack you can do? Very good, MS 17 010, right? So it is eternal blue attack, right? So is it guaranteed every time? No. As they are not part of a network, the chances of running SMB service is rare. If SMB service is not there, you can't exploit that eternal blue thing. Same for this Windows XP also. If they are connecting to some Wi-Fi nearby, or if they are connecting to your network, then you can exploit. If they are connecting to internet, and if that device have public IP address, then you can exploit, right? They won't expose this 4454 port to the public internet. Then there is no way that you can exploit it. So simply seeing that the target is vulnerable, the old version of operating system is not going to give you guarantee that it is exploitable. Network situation is also very, very, very important there. Now, in this case, the RDP service is not enabled. Let's go and enable this RDP service. So to enable RDP service, you can simply check for remote desktop settings. Remember, when you search remote desktop, you will see remote desktop connection. This is different. This is for establishing RDP connection. This is different. So we need to look for remote desktop settings, right? So the best thing to do is to go on control panel, right? System and security. There you will see system, under which we have remote settings. So by default, I disabled it. Now let's allow connections. There are three settings that you can see. One is allow connections for computer running any version. The other one is allow connections only for computers running remote desktop with network level authentication. Right? They should have valid credentials with them to connect. Now let's select this less secure one. Apply. Now run the module. Now all of you run the module on this target. Right? It is going to show you that the target is vulnerable. This module is not going to exploit the DOS attack, so you'll not see this mission crashing. Right? Now, let's go back and search for this module once again. Search MS12020. This time, all of you load the first module, which is auxiliary DOS Windows RDP MS12020. All of you load that, configure the options, and then exploit it. Don't run exploit immediately. Already run. See, Are you seeing that? The mission dead. Blue screen of death. Right? So port is open. This is how someone can exploit. Let me restart this device. Wait for a few seconds so that others can also get a chance to kill the device. It happens within seconds. So it is not compulsory that we need multiple attackers like this. Even if it is coming from one single device, this device can crash. మీకు ఇది ఈరోజు చూపించినాం కాబట్టి ఈ రోజు నుంచి ఆర్డీ రిపోర్ట్ ఓపెన్ చేయొద్దు ఇక ఇది చేస్తే మీరు క్లాస్ రన్ అయినట్టుగా let it start. Again, this module will have similar kind of options. So we need to set the R host value, which in our case is 192.168.0.241. That's it. After configuring that value, running exploit, you can actually crash this device. Right. Now run exploit, crash. Within seconds it will crash. Right? So this is how you can exploit the vulnerability in the target. Remember, every time you'll not see this blue screen of death thing. Right? So in few cases it will take time on crashing the service. But you will see that services or the computer will not be usable. Now don't do that particular attack. Let me show you the defense. So on your target Windows 7 device, once you are done with this practical, right, if you are doing it on your target, I recommend remove that VM and reload it again for the next practicals. Okay? Why? Because these packets will be there in the cache and there are chances where it will crash multiple times later also. Now let's go and add secure setting. By default, I disabled the firewall, right? But there is nothing to do with firewall here. If the port is allowed through firewall, attack will happen anyway, right? Don't run exploit. Wait. Right. Now we added that preventive measure. Now perform the attack. Now perform the attack. Nothing happens. Right? So only if the user is authenticated user, he'll be able to do it. Exploit will not work here. So if you are opening a port, running a service, you must make sure that the service is securely configured. This is what we did in the Linux administration module for SSH service, right? So if you are installing SSH server, allowing people to connect to that SSH server, it's okay, fine. But you must make sure that you added certain security measures. What are those? Allowing only limited users to connect to SSH, limit amount of connections that can be established, right? Removing root user not to perform remote connections, right? These are all things that we did on that day. It is better to remove the password based thing and allow only Allow only key-based authentication. So these are all measures that we need to take. So simply installing service, your job is not done. You need to complete the process of configuring the service securely. So this is yet another two good example for this. Similar to this, we have Metasploitable 3 Windows mission, which is actually vulnerable, right, for the HTTP service that is running there. So the IP address of my Metasploitable 3 Windows is 200. So let's perform this on this particular target. So all of you go on your Metasploit framework and search for MS15034. MS15034. Can you read the information and tell me which one is going to perform the DOS attack? Is it the first one that you are seeing? I mean, zeroth one or the first exploit? Is it the module with ID 0 or module with 0 ID 1? Which one can be used for performing DOS attack? Zeroth one. So if we load the zeroth exploit and run info, this module will check if the scanned hosts are vulnerable to this CVE 15/1635, a vulnerability in the HTTP protocol stack. This could result in arbitrary code execution. This module will try to cause a DOS attack, right? So if you smartly craft that particular query, there is a chance that you can also perform remote code execution on this, right? So else, this by default causes the DOS attack. So let's go and configure this particular module. All of you do it. Use 0. Verify options. My target's IP address is 192.168.0.200. And the service that is vulnerable is HTTP. This mission already crashed. You are experts now in using Metasploit. Module చెప్పు will execute అంతే. So simply configuring our host value and running exploit, the system will crash like this. To screen of death. So in case of MS12010, sorry 020, it is vulnerability in the RDP service, and in this case, it is the vulnerability in the HTTP protocol stack. So now I need to shut down this and then start, make it work. Anyhow, you got the idea on how the exploit works, right? So this is how you can conduct DOS attacks. Now let's go on to yet another example, but this time let's perform a TCP SYN flood attack, right? A TCP SYN flood attack. To perform this TCP SYN flood attack, I'm going to start HTTP service on my Windows machine. In your case, HTTP service is already there, right? We enabled IAS server on this particular device. This is the mission that we used for CMD, ASPX, shell upload, right? Getting reverse connection, that practical on that day. So let's perform this TCP SYN flood attack again using Metasploit framework only. So if you search for TCP space SYN flood or just SYN flood, anything is fine. So this is the TCP SYN floodder, a simple SYN floodder. So let's load this module, verify the options. So this is a TCP SYN floodder, means it works on any TCP port that is running on the target. We actually opened this port 80 on the target. So you must be able to run this on the target without any kind of worries. So even if SSH port is open, you can do this on that SSH port also. Right? So let's configure the details. So set R host 192.168.0.241. Right? Now, before you run this particular module, let me show you. Before you run, already run చేసేసినామే అంటారా? So you can see the performance is normal. There are no users who are actually using it. Now all of you run this module. Not permitted. Oh, sorry. You need to be a root user to do this. Means you need to start Metasploit console as a root user. Let us exit out of this and start MSF console as root user by adding sudo in front of it. So again, configure all the options. And run this module. You must see that it started flooding. And you will see the increase in the CPU utilization and memory utilization. Right? So this time you'll not see blue screen of death immediately. But once it hits 100%, obviously your system will be, see, it became slow. Right? If I start opening some window or no, or do some other activity, it will take time. If this repeats or continues for a long time, the system cannot run. Right now I'm able to do this, but right click is taking long time. See, it takes long time to do all the activities. So memory and CPU, right, are going high. Of course, I gave just 1 GB for this particular Windows mission. If you repeat this activity for next 1 hour, right? So up to some extent, it can handle, as I have already told you, for 75 seconds, it can hold that SYN and close it, right? So it can remove that. So underlying Windows security measures already had some understanding related to this attack. So it can withhold it up to some extent. It continues for a long time, it will not run anymore. All of you stop this attack. Within a very short time, it comes down and the mission will be normal. So this is how you can perform TCP flood attack. But this time, let's run this attack once again, but capture the packets using Wireshark and see what happens. What is happening in the background. we are just going with the theory saying that it is going to send SYN packets. Let's see whether it is sending it or not. All of you open a different tab, start Wireshark on your Kali Linux. Right? So what I told you when we are going with this TCP SYN flood attack, will send SYN packets, target should send SYN ACKs. Means you are sending thousands of SYN packets to my device. Means this Windows machine is sending SYN ACKs, but nothing happened wrong on your Kali Linux. Performance issue is not there. Why? Let's analyze that with Wireshark. So start Wireshark and start Wireshark capture on ETH0. Right? Let's reduce the size. Right? Now rerun this attack. Rerun this attack for just few seconds, then stop Wireshark and also your Kali Linux. If not, your Kali will freeze. Wireshark captures thousands of packets in this duration, and if it is not able to handle, your Kali will freeze. Now you can see there are a lot of TCP SYN packets that are sent to port 80. Right? But carefully observe the IP addresses there. What is the target IP address? The destination IP? Destination IP is 241. It is my IP address, my Windows 7 IP address. What is source IP? In your case, it can be different, right? But you will see some public IP address, not private IP address. So Metasploit is really smart. It understands that if you send all these SYN packets onto the target, you should receive all SYN ACKs. Problem manake. So it smartly changed that particular IP address to a public IP address. So will not receive this. SYN ACKs will go on to this public IP address. If it is there, it will receive all SYN ACKs. If it is not there with the defense to discard SYN ACKs without SYN, right? If the device is not there, got it? So this is a smart way, but your Metasploit comes with a lot of different options for you. For example, all of you go back to the Metasploit module and run show options. We configured just our host. Are you all seeing S host and S port? S host and S port. So S host, where you can add a spoofable IP address. Then let's take advantage of picking up some other bakra. Add their IP address, and obviously SYN packets will go on to, SYN ACKs will go on to that other IP address that you add here. Right? May know someone's IP address? Meer bakra an gaadu, sorry to say, just example. May know someone's Kali Linux IP address, please? 214. 192.168.0.214. So in your case, add your friend's IP address. Ask your friend's IP address who is sitting next to you and add their IP address. Right? 84 GB. You'll run the attack only for few seconds and stop. So take someone else's IP address. And before running exploit, this time go back, restart the Wireshark capture and run exploit. stop the attack, stop Wireshark also. See, your system will freeze because you are sending thousands of packets, not because your friend is sending SYN-AC case. Both will be there. Your friend will be sending SYN-AC case at the same time. It will also freeze because of huge amount of packets that Wireshark captures. See, for just few seconds, it captured 4,000 plus packets. Now see, 214 is the IP address. So keep it very generic and understand. 214 is not my IP address and 241 is not my IP address. It is my target's IP address. What Wireshark can capture? Wireshark can capture only the packets that you send or you receive. Ante donga nuve. You are the one who is sending this. Even though your IP address is not there in the source or destination, we are able to see these packets, means you spoofed this IP address and sent. Am I right? So this is a TCP SYN flood attack. Now, I will not see this kind of SYN-ACK packets. Surya will see all these SYN-ACK packets in his Wireshark. Because immediately when 241 receives this, 241 will send these packets SYN-ACKs to 214, not my IP address. I am safe. The Wireshark, running Wireshark can tell a lot of different things. And my dear friends, this can be a question in CH practical exam. They will give you the Wireshark packet. They will give you a PCAP file. And they will ask you to identify the victim of a SYN flood attack. Can you identify who is the victim of SYN flood attack? Victim ante mosapoyinodu. Right? So, wherever you see a repeated IP address in the destination section, who is repeatedly receiving SYN packets onto one constant port, he is the victim. In this case, 241. Of course, we already know that we are targeting this device, so we are able to tell. But you must be able to tell this even if some other SYN packet capture is given. Right? A lot of SYN packets onto one specific port from different IP addresses to one specific IP address. Yet another thing is, instead of sending packets like this, there is a problem. Now tell me how target can identify that there is someone doing DOS attack on my device. What are the indicators that will tell target that this machine is under DOS attack? More CPU usage, memory. I'm not doing anything on this computer, but heating issues means there is something wrong. Yet another thing is, if you start Wireshark and capture network traffic, if you are receiving a huge amount of SYN-ACKs or SYN packets, right, from same IP address, it means there is someone doing DOS attack. So attacker also know that this is how the target will detect. Then what he will do? Instead of sending huge amount of SYN packets from the same IP address, I will send it from different IP addresses. Hello, are you all understanding? Instead of using the same source IP, right, I'll use different source IP addresses. Right? If the same candidate is drinking somewhere around 20 to 30 juices, doubt వస్తుంది మనకి వీడు తాగుతున్నాడా పక్కనోడికి పోస్తున్నాడా అని, లేకపోతే బాటిల్ నింపుకొని పోతున్నాడా డబ్బులు కట్టకుండా. Right? If n number of people are asking this, then it is not at all considered as an attack. So can you detect nmap scan? Hello, can you detect nmap scan that is happening on your device? How to detect nmap scan? If my colleague performs nmap scan on your device, then what happens? Source IP address will be my Kali Linux IP address. Destination IP address will be your device IP address. Port numbers are in a sequence. Am I right? I am scanning different ports from the same IP address. If you are intended to connect to my HTTP service, You must establish three-way handshake only with HTTP port. Why are you establishing this three-way handshake with all ports? If you are doing this scan with very small timing difference, if you are trying to establish three-way handshake connection with all different ports with small timing difference, no doubt that is a port scan. Right? Then what attacker will do? He will smartly change those IP addresses. Instead of sending it from the same IP address to different ports, right? Different IP addresses to different ports. It's not at all a problem. Am I right? So, party A is connecting to port 22. B is connecting to port 21. C is connecting to port 80. It is not at all a scan. Am I right? If A is constantly connecting to 20, 21, 22, 80 and all, then it is a Nmap scan. So, by simply analyzing Wireshark capture, you must be able to tell what is happening. Right? What type of attack is happening. So this is very important analysis, and this is how the practical questions will be there in the CH practical exam. Right? They will give you Wireshark capture. All you need to do is to identify who is the attacker or who is the victim and put that there. Or they will also ask how many packets are there in this particular conversation. Right? So if you simply search for TCP packets, you can see there are a lot of different TCP packets, or TCP dot flags dot sin is equal to 1. You can apply this filter, only sin packets will come. So if you want, you can note down this filter. It is TCP dot flags dot sin. So if I want to see ACK packets, then TCP dot flags dot ACK is equal to 1. If I want to see sin ACKs, sin is 1, ACK is 1. So you need to combine it with AND operator. This flag and that flag should be 1. Then only display those packets. Now, how many TCP sin packets are there in your capture? Check. How many TCP sin packets are there in your capture? Close this. So if you apply this filter, you must see that displayed packets are 3541. Out of 4000 packets, 3500 plus packets are sin packets only. Obviously, this is a sin flood attack. Obviously, this is a sin flood attack. So that is the story. Again, if I want to add defenses, it is very important to understand the attacks first. This is why we say if you want to get a defense engineer, want to work in the defense related sector of cyber security, then you need to first know the offenses, how attacks happen. If you don't know what is DOS attack, right? If you don't know the difference between thin flood attack, ICMP flood attack, what rule you will write? How you will detect the attack? Right? So if you want to catch criminals, you need to be one. Means at least you need to think like a criminal. Right? So police people are the very first criminals because they have a lot of experience. The actual criminal will know only 1 or 2 methods. But police did a lot of research. They know n number of candidates who actually do this crimes. Right? They know so many crimes. Of course, దీన్ని వేరేలాగా తీసుకోకండి. Right? I am not blaming them. I am just giving credits for the skills that they have, the knowledge that they build upon. Right? పోలీసులు నేమో అన్నాని వీడియో కట్ చేసి దాన్ని యూట్యూబ్ లో వేరే టైటిల్ రాసి కండి ప్లీజ్. అబ్బా ఇది ఒకటి ఉంది కదా, అట్లాంటివి చేయకండి ప్లీజ్. దిస్ ఈస్ జస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, రైట్? ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎవరైనా బాధించినట్టుంటే వీఆర్ ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్లీ సారీ, రైట్? These random examples are from my end only. My recruiter, my company, my institute is nowhere responsible for this, right? Very good. That's all about TCP SYN flood attack with the help of Metasploit module. Now it is time for a short break. Let's break for 15 minutes and we'll see you all after break with yet another method on how we can conduct this DOS attack. I think I already told you in the previous session. For Windows machines, you can make use of this utility named as Colasoft Packet Builder. So this is a tool that you can use on building or crafting your own packets. So if you are using Nmap or something else, obviously you don't have privilege on customizing packets. So with this Colasoft Packet Builder, you can build your own packet with TTL values set, what kind of flags you want to enable, right? It is just a graphical tool where you can set everything, click on send, it will send these packets to the target. As simple as that. So Colasoft Packet Builder. A Linux alternate for the same is HPing3. HPing3. So let's perform these activities on my target Ubuntu machine. You can use any target. Just for a change, I'm going with this Ubuntu machine. You can choose any device as your target. So HPing3 is the default utility on your Kali Linux, using which you can craft any network packet. So let's look at the help manual for HPing3, just like HPing3 -help. So there are different modes of operation. You can actually create some ICMP packets, some UDP packets, or you can perform Nmap scans also using HPing3. Something like this. HPing3 scan and the port numbers that you want to scan. And here the capital S is nothing but the flag that you want to enable. So based on what are the flags that you want to enable, there are different options, like capital S is for SYN, capital F is for FIN, right? You can use capital R to set reset. So here I want to identify what ports are open. So obviously we'll send SYN packets. If we receive SYN ACK, then the port is open. So we can simply use this syntax on running scans on the target device. So let's perform a quick scan on our target. So HPing3 -scan for the ports. So you can specify the ports directly. We don't need to give -p option. So I want to scan ports between 20 to 80 and want to send SYN packets onto 192.168.0.8. Obviously, when you are using HPing3, you are running packet building activity. So you need to have root privileges to do this. Then we know that these ports are open. In fact, you can use netcat also for port scanning. You don't need Nmap. Of course, Nmap is there with a lot of facilities that you require, you need. But these are kind of alternate tools. So in a situation where you are not supposed to use Nmap or Nmap is not there on the target, so netcat is kind of default utility on almost all different Linux machines. So you can use that for port scanning. So we'll look at netcat help manual. So -Z option can be used for scanning purpose. We'll see on how we can do it in the next module, advanced network pen testing. So HPing3 can be utilized like this. So you can change this IP address to any other IP address. And port numbers, you can specify whatever range of ports you want to scan. And we can use this HPing3 for a ton of other activities. Later in the defense related section of this course, I will show you on how we can perform ICMP tunneling or DNS tunneling. For all those activities, we can take advantage of this utility like HPing3. So yet another thing is, if you are not intended to perform flooding, then we'll simply specify what type of flag and we'll send that packet only in a lesser count, one packet. But if you add flood, this sends huge amount of packet as fast as possible. And there are a bunch of other modes like fast, faster, fastest. Right, on how many packets you want to send and what must be the count of the packet also. For example, I want to detect whether there is any other difference between me and the router, right? Or between me and google.com. So I'm inside an organization network and each and every packet process multiple nodes in this network before it reaches google.com. Say if I want to know whether my organization have a network based firewall or host based firewall, is router there with some firewall configuration or not, I can customize the amount of packets that I'm sending, right? So you all know traceroute command, which will count number of packets that are there between me and the target. So traceroute also works in the same exact fashion. It sends one packet with TTL value as 1 and see whether it expires or will I get response. If I get response means there is one node here. So we'll increase the TTL value and then we'll see if there are nodes in between me and the target or not. Same thing can be done with the help of HPing3 utility also. For now, our goal is different. I want to target this Linux machine, right? And I'm going to start both HTTP service and also SSH service on this device so that we'll have TCP ports open. Sudo service SSH start. It's not compulsory that you must use this. You can use your Kali Linux also. You can use any other Linux machine. Apache to start. So there are two services that are already running. So 22 and also 80 are open and listening. DNS is listening on the loopback interface. Now let's run TCP SYN flood on the target. So take down the command. It is sudo hping3. We can use -V option for verbose result. And I want to specify the port number on which I want to do this attack. Let's attack port 80 on the target device. So onto port 80, what I want to send SYN packets, capital S. So I just want to send huge amount of packets at faster rate, not one single packet. So I will add -flood onto which IP address. The IP address of my target is 155. I'm going to add 192.168.0.1. This is very dangerous utility, right? In fact, after today's session, I need to restart my router for at least 2 times to continue with the next session. So when you are using it, I recommend you configure the device on NAT network and then do it. That would be much better. So people who are online, you may see some internet disturbances here and there. I will make sure that I will stop the attacks in the middle. So it will not affect our network connection. But as we have all this offline students who are trying the same, there are chances where the intensity will be more. Even though we all stop the attack at the same time, ఒక్కొక్కళ్ళు 10 పంపించడం వేరు, ఒకళ్ళే 10 పంపించడం వేరు, right? So let's run this attack. Stop this. Theoretically, we are saying that it is going to send SYN packets, but we don't know whether it is sending or not. So let's start Wireshark and then capture the traffic, and then we'll see this. Right? So just a few seconds, very few seconds. Right? So this is why it is dangerous. So my dear friends, all of you start Wireshark. People who are offline, all of you start Wireshark. This is Kali good freeze out. So Wireshark is a graphical utility because of which you will see all these things having a high demand of resources. So instead of using Wireshark, you can use TCP dump in the background instead of going with this graphical utility. All of you start Wireshark, run the scan, and stop it after a few seconds, and also stop Wireshark. If not, your Kali will freeze. See, on my Kali Linux, on the top you can see, I stopped it for a few seconds, but it went very high. Now, if I want to see all the SYN packets, I'm going to run tcp.flags.syn is equal to 1. There you can see all the SYN packets that I have sent out to the target. Anta patsaga manchiga kanapadutundi. Green. Right? So do not run this particular command for a long duration. If you do so, the butterfly ega. Right? Your Kali will freeze. Very dangerous utility. Again, Metasploit is smart enough and decided to change the source IP address. HPing3 will not do that for you by default. Right? Can you go into the HPing3 help manual and see if there is an option to spoof the source IP address? Hyphen? Very good. So I can simply add hyphen small a and specify the spoofed IP address. So when you are writing this, we'll do it this way, like small a, the spoofable IP address, space, the actual target IP address. So 155 is my target's IP address. So I'm going to use 192.168.0.114, Surya? 114, anyone's IP address, please? 136. 136. నేను ఎక్కువసేపు రన్ చేయలే. I'm good hacker. So I'm going to restart the capture, run this attack for a few seconds, and I stopped this. You can see the spoofed IP address here. 136.155. In your Wireshark, you must be able to see all the SYN ACKs. Wireshark on cheyi. I'll do it once again. Run it now. Done. ऐसी केलं. ఇగో మరి 1s 10s 100,000 10,000 50,000 860. So you'll see a lot of SYN ACKs. So you never ever sent SYN packets. How come this 155 is sending SYN ACKs to your device? ఎవడో నీ మీద చేతబడి చేసినట్టు. If you are seeing that someone is sending SYN ACKs without SYN packets, right? Without any friendship, they are sending gifts. అంటే ఏదో ఉందాడా మతలబ్. You must not accept. వచ్చినే కదా గిఫ్ట్లో డబ్బుంది జోలో పెట్టుకుంటే అంతే సంగతి. బాంబే వెళ్తుంది. Right? You must be very careful. So this is what we see in defense aspects also. Now that we know how the attacks are working, Wireshark is a very crucial tool, very important tool that you must use. Right? Knowing all the basic options and how to use Wireshark is that important. అందుకే 3-4 రోజులు సాగదీసిన దాన్ని. Network fundamentals. Right? So going through basic options. ఇక మస్తు ఫెసిలిటీలు ఉంటాయి అందులో. Even our mobile phone, we don't use it 100%. So it's not a problem. If you know, a minimum of 20 to 30% of usage is more than enough. There will be new features added every version. Right? So if your complete job is related to that, then obviously it is very important. As a network engineer, it is very important tool. Right? As a security engineer, you must be able to analyze Wireshark. That is more than enough. Right? So remember, as you are part of this particular course, which is there with a lot of different major sections covering all different security related aspects, not everything you will be doing in the job. Job check ఏదో ఒకటే ఉంటుంది బటన్లు వస్తే పని అది కూడా. Right? So most of the time it is like SOC. So there are so many roles for SOC engineer, level 1 engineers. Right? Level 1 engineers means there will be a SIM framework that will collect all these logs. మనం చేసేది ఏమి ఉండదు. There will be devices that will send these logs to SIM framework. You no need to do man in middle attack to send this log to the device. ఇవన్నీ అక్కర్లే. Attackers will do for sure. మనం చేసి replicate చేయాల్సిన అక్కర్లే. So in the class environment, we are just demonstrating how the attack happens. But in the real world scenario, attackers will do those attacks on our infrastructure. And these SIM frameworks will collect all these things. All you need to do is to sit in front of that framework and identify is there anything wrong happening. Right? Yet another thing is the tool will itself have some kind of rules that are written by our level 2, level 3 engineers. Right? So if it is observing, I want to identify a DOS attack because you know the rule. Right? What happens in the DOS attack? So that is why I ask you to keep the generic understanding based on what is your work, right? They will train you. Most of the times, you may not be dealing with Wireshark. You will deal with PCAP files that can be loaded using n number of tools. The company will have their own packet analyzer, right? So you can use that. If you go on ChatGPT and ask, list all packet capturing tools. Right? It is not like only Wireshark. Okay? So remember the methodology, remember the process on what we are doing, right? That is more than enough. It is not like we are using this tool for this particular practical. Wireshark practical use cheyali ikkada kaadu kada anante kashtam. Just understand where we use this Wireshark, where we use Metasploit framework, right? Example that I gave you yesterday is like Hydra, Medusa, and John the Ripper. Right? Where to use Hydra, where to use John the Ripper. So in one of the interviews, I asked the candidate about this. And John the Ripper. Right? If you want to crack hashes and all, then John the Ripper. Again, John comes with a lot of different features. You know, we used crunch for building word list. John also got some kind of features on building word lists. There are certain templates that you can use, right? So we discussed only the core functionalities of all these utilities. In fact, with one single tool, you can do everything. I think I already told you this before, like you don't need Nmap, Wireshark and all other tools. Metasploit comes with all those facilities, right? So in fact, in CPENT exam, I used only Metasploit, no other thing. Here and there, very small percentage of Nmap, but most of those things I did with Metasploit, right? Because they will ask for version details and script, certain service related versions. You can do all that thing with Metasploit. But if you are comfortable with Nmap, then you can use Nmap there, right? So in CPENT, there is no restriction on using Metasploit framework. But if you go with other exams, like OSCP, there is a restriction on using Metasploit framework. You're not supposed to use Metasploit for exploitation. For CH practical, you can use whatever tool you want. No more restrictions there. You can do whatever thing they want. In fact, CH practical is damn simple when compared with CPENT or OSCP, right? Because in CPENT, CH practical, they will give you the details, right? So and so security engineer identified that this network is infected with a malware. This malware is actually attacking a port 2233. And immediately he contacted the security team, I mean security analyst team, who are working under the SOC, and asked for the logs for during so and so time. And they gave the logs to this security analyst. And these logs, we actually made it available for you on this so and so Windows machine. You can log into this Windows machine using this as username, this as password. After logging in D drive, there is a folder named as evidence. So in that evidence folder, we kept this pcap file. Can you please help us identify which machine is connecting to this port 2233? Question in the right? There will be the fill in the blank. And they will also tell you port should answer should be in this format A, B, C, D. Means it is 4 ports. I mean 4-digit number. Right? Inta clear is that CH practically. If you know what tool to use, then immediately you can complete. Load that capture in Wireshark, set which filter. If you don't have filter knowledge, you need to scroll and see. So they told you the port number. So what filter we can use? What filter we can use? TCP.port is equal to 2233. You will see all the packets that contain this port number. See who is connecting to this port, means source IP address. I pick that IP, put that there. Or port number, put that port number there. That's it. So this will be that simple at times, right? So most of the challenges will be covered with Nmap. Few challenges with Wireshark. Few challenges with Nmap scans, script scans, right? And bunch of other scans that you do, right? So if you are third with Nmap and Wireshark and with basic web application attacks, so they will ask you to brute force this login and find out what is the password. They will give you hash values and they will ask you to crack these hashes. They won't tell you what tool. Malli story rastariga. So our security analyst hacked into this target device, performed post-exploitation, found bunch of hatches. They are not sure what are the passwords. Can you help them on finding the actual password? So for your convenience, hashes are present on so and so Linux machine. They will give you 2 VMs, right? One is parent machine, the other one is Windows VM. And they will give you login IDs also. You don't need to brute force. So in CPENT exam, it is not like that. They will give you only the range of missions. The range for challenge for solving these challenges, the range IP range is so and so. That's it. So that is the difference that you can see. In CEH practical, they will tell you IP addresses most of the times. This is the mission that you need to identify this vulnerability on. right? So few questions that I already told you on Nmap related activity. There is one device in this network that is running a web application, right, on port 80, that too using Apache 2.4.8. Can you identify the IP address of it? And other question is the SSH host keys. I think we did that on that particular day. Last 4 digits of SSH host key, right? They will ask like this. So if you know the Nmap scan, then you can easily identify. For example, if I go with this locate or simply run a default aggressive scan or script scan. So Nmap port number 22 on 192.168.0.8 and doing a default script scan and version detection scan. Right? So they will ask questions like this. ECDSA host key last 4 characters. Submit. So similar kind of questions will be there in CPENT exam also. But the problem is you can't simply reach that mission by typing IP address like this. Right? The same example that I gave you on that day, like if I go with Nmap scan on 14 to 17, you will only see results for one single device. Right? Only 16. Say I want to, they asked you for SMB version, let us say operating system detail. If you run it like this, you will see only result for 16. For other devices, there is a firewall. That is one case, right? You all remember network security concepts where we wrote firewall rules not to allow specific device to communicate with this. Means there will be range of missions. Say in the exam, they will just tell you identify the detail of so and so. Let me clear my screen. Also clear Wireshark logs. Oh, it's so they will give you IP address, right? So this IP will not be there in this range. It will be there in the double pivot range, right? So it is like find out what is the version of SSH running on 10.10.10.3, right? The IP address that is assigned for your Kali Linux will be 192.168.0. ఈ 10.10 యాడ్ సచ్ ఉంటుంది means you need to compromise one machine that had 2 different interfaces. Am I right? So if you have that interface 10.10.10 for this, and that machine should be used to find out 3's version detail. So this is difference between the CPENT exam and CEH practical. CEH practical ఇట్లాంటి అస్సలు ఉండవు ఎందుకంటే CPENT ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి, right? So in that case, difficulty is different. So now you need to scan the entire range, identify which missions you can compromise that mission, and then gain access, see if there are multiple interfaces, then use that particular mission, set up proxy chains, and send your traffic to the internal device to perform the scan. Then you must use proxy chains and map proxy chains to connect, right? Anyhow, we'll do this in the next module, advanced network pen testing. Right? At times the device will be in the double pivot range, 10.20.20.4. What is the port that is open? Question is very simple. What are the ports that are open? That's it. Is RDP port open on this 10.20.20.4? They will not tell you IPs. They will not tell you which machine is live. They will not give you the range. So they will simply give you the range. At times they will simply say this is the IP. You need to identify. Right? In fact, you can do those things also very simply. If you know Nmap, Wireshark, Metasploit. Right? So in the next module, we'll see all these tactics on how we can do it with Metasploit, without Metasploit, how simple you can, how simply you can identify this, right? If you have simple tips and tricks. Tips and tricks, అన్ని ఒకటే మాడ్యూల్ చెప్తే తర్వాత ఖాళీ అయిపోతుంది. We'll go with that in the next module. Anyhow, let's move on. So to perform a SYN flood attack, we can use HPing 3 like this. Next thing is performing some kind of UDP related flood. So if I want to do UDP flood, right? So we'll go back to the same HPing 3 command, but we'll set this in the UDP mode. All of you look into the help manual and tell me how to configure UDP mode. Oh, sorry, UDP mode or ICMP mode. Very good. -1 for ICMP mode, -2 for UDP mode. So I'm going to specify the port number. Let's say you can take whatever port number you want. So in this case, I'm taking this port 80. I'm removing SYN and adding UDP mode. Now you must be seeing a lot of UDP packets in your Wireshark. Wow. It's already. See, so many UDP packets. First close this and then go back. A lot of UDP packets that we have sent out to this port. Similar to this, ICMP flood. Do this one better. The moment you send ICMP packets, if the target accepts ICMP packets, there are a lot of ping requests that it need to respond for. Got it? So note down all these commands. TCP SYN flood, or UDP flood, or ICMP flood. Let's move on to yet another tool called as low race, which can be utilized for performing application-based flooding. This utility is not present on Kali Linux by default. You need to download this from Git. Low race attack. Once done, go on Google and search for slow low race Perl GitHub. There is a Perl variant and also a Python variant for the same utility. Actually works a bit interesting. So most of the firewalls may not detect this as an attack if you go with slow low race. Let's see why and how. So I'm going to do this particular attack on let's do it on all our Kali Linux. Why not? So this tool may or may not work on the latest versions of Linux machines. Let's try both on this Ubuntu machine and also your Kali Linux. So all of you start Apache service on your Kali. And I already started Apache on this 155 IP address. You can see a default Apache page. Now this particular tool, which is Slow Lores, GitHub Perl, the Perl variant of that particular tool. So the tool is named after this cute looking animal and very dangerous one, kind of slow poison. So what this particular utility does, say if I want to establish a connection with your website, what we must do, we'll first establish a three-way handshake and then we'll send HTTP packets, HTTP request, right? And once I receive the response, it means I have the content now. Our browser will render and display that. Am I right? So what this tool does is it opens a lot of connections to the target and sends HTTP requests. But it will actually divide this one single HTTP request into smaller chunks and it will try to send them as slow as possible. I established the three-way handshake connection. So you can't close that connection without my permission this hand. Hello. I asked you to wait here. I'll come back within a minute. Right? You must wait until unless there is some kind of feedback from me. So, this particular tool will divide this HTTP request into smaller chunks and send them one after the other as slow as possible. Means until and unless target receives all the HTTP requests, it can't build that and perform that activity. I want the content of the main root location, index.html. But I'm telling I want index. Until unless I complete this index.html, you can't understand it, right? So this tool does the same. But it is going to perform this activity not only for one single request. Thousands of connections that I opened will go with the same thing. Right? As this tool is not stopping anywhere. I mean, it is not going to stop this sending request. It will send this request, but just slowly, that's it. Once it completes sending the entire request, right? Obviously, target will process it and it will send the response back immediately and I will close that connection. Right? The moment it closes one or two connections at the starting, it opens few more connections again. Now, any other genuine user want to establish the connection, their request will be waiting in the queue. Until unless I complete these TCP connections, it cannot establish the other connection. So how smart this tool works. Let's go ahead and clone this tool. All of you clone this utility. Other name is this. I think his git repos pair name is this. The Excel separate చేయడానికి పెట్టినట్టున్నాడు. Duck skeleton. So let's clone this. If I'm not wrong, no, it is not there. So git space clone space the path All of you do it along with me, because this is kind of a DDoS utility. This is a DDoS utility, means there should be n number of attackers doing this. Then the effect will be very high. So slowloris directory, there we have slowloris.pl, IPv4 version and 6 version. So I'm going to choose IPv4 version. So chmod +x slowloris.pl, add execute permissions and run that tool. It will display the help manual for you, how to use it. We just added execute permissions. After adding execute permissions, if you run that, it shows the banner and the help manual. How to use this tool? slowloris.pl -DNS followed by the target domain name or IP address. In this case, let us first target this 155 and see if it works or not. I'm able to load this page without any worries as of now. Right? Now, all of you run this command /slowloris-DNS 192.168.0.155. People who are offline, run this command. Now you can see it is showing building socket. It is establishing connections. Right? Has now sent 540 packets successfully. And this thread will sleep for 10 seconds. After completing it, again it will start. So are you seeing that? I'm reloading this page. It is still loading. Or else let me clear browser history. 192.168.0.155. Sachin, the website. Hello. The tool already occupied the available space. Now I am trying to connect. My request will be standing in the queue. Until unless the previous ones complete, I cannot establish. The moment these first connections that are established are dead, then my turn will come. Right? But the tool is smart enough, it will not give you a chance. It will work very fast. Somewhere at 1 or 2 requests that are there in the middle may be processed for a few seconds, and then it will again log that website down. Now if I close this, all of you stop that. And now if I try to visit 192.168.0.155, it should work. This is how you can stop that website from functioning. But this particular thing works only on Apache. Right? So that is the reason why you see a lot of users are shifting to Nginx, IIS, right, nowadays. It's all because of this loopholes that are there in the older versions of. So when you are doing it on your own device, it can take time, right? Because it is a very effective DDoS attack that works perfectly. So these are all versions that are affected, web server versions that are affected. So web servers that doesn't affect are these versions. So the loophole is in the way how Apache handles all these requests. Got it? That is how you can use slowloris to crash a website. This works on the latest web servers also, even if there is a firewall. Why? I'm just sending requests very slow. That's it. I had a bad internet connection. You have 5G connection. I have only 2G. Kya G? It is just 2G. So it goes very slow. Right? So in that case, I can't do anything. Is there any rule like if there is a slow internet connection you don't want to accept? Then chalo, I'll use some other website then. Hello. Have you ever observed this? When you are going on Google with poor internet connection, what it will say? Hello, you are trying to load gmail.com using very bad internet connection. It is better you go with our basic HTML. Am I right? So then it shows basic version of Gmail. It loads that. It will request you saying that it is bad internet connection. I can't wait for this long. It is better you go and use this one. It will be much faster for you. Right? So if Amazon is verifying whether you are coming from a good internet connection or not, if your internet connection is very poor, if Amazon says, go, get out, I'm not gonna load because your internet connection is low, then what users will do? They will shift to Flipkart. Right? You must not say no. If a student asks a doubt, you must be able to answer. If we ask the same doubt again, you must answer it again. If we ask this for the 10th time, you must be able to answer. If you say, hey, get out, they will not return back again. ఒక్క డౌట్కి ఇట్లా చేస్తే ఇక రేపు ఇంకో 2 డౌట్లు ఉంటాయి, 4 డౌట్లు, 5 డౌట్లు. By the time course comes to the 50% mark, you will have 50% doubts. Right? Never solved. He's కట్టడం మానేసి వెళ్ళిపోతాడు రిటర్న్. Hello. Right? So when you are handling users, you must make sure that they are not getting irritated. Can you tell me what kind of countermeasures I can consider in this case? Even if there is a firewall cannot detect this because it is a very genuine connection. Right? So what kind of preventive measures that I can add? Someone else is already doing this attack on this device. So the website is down. So what are the countermeasures? So we need to give an alternate for these users. You must detect slow connections and tell them to go and use a different server so that you can handle that there. And very important thing is to add defense procedures. For example, if you detect that this is a tool that is doing, no user will manually go and make thousands of connections at the same time. Hello. The timing difference between each and every connection is different. But here there is a very rhythmic change or rhythmic timing gap. Right? It means no doubt it is a tool. If you immediately say you are using tool, I don't give connection, it will be bad. Hello. If student asks the doubt, you say, నువ్వేం వినలేదు కాబట్టి నేను చెప్పనంటే తంతడు పట్టుకున్నాడు. Right? So you must understand whether it is a genuine connection or a tool that is doing an attack. If it is a tool that is doing an attack, what you must do? You must simply put a captcha. Right? You do a lot of Google darking. Google will suspect that there is something wrong and it will ask you to solve this captcha. Are you a human? If yes, then I will proceed further. If not, no. Right? Put that captcha. One countermeasure. But more captchas can be irritating for user. ప్రతిసారి సాల్ క్యాప్చా అంటే అక్కడ రాడు మళ్ళీ నీ వెబ్సైట్లో. So what to do? There are certain logics that you can write for your web code, right, which will raise some kind of challenge to the browser, and browser should solve that challenge. If he is using tool, there is no browser sending this request, then obviously tool cannot solve this particular challenge. Right? Check user agent in the request. If the user agent in the request is not browser, then tell go and use browser to access this website. Right? Anta serious cheppakudadu. My dear friend, we thought that you are using something that is not really going to improve your experience on our website. Please go and use any browser like Firefox, Chrome to improve the experience. Right? Inner voice. You came from a tool, you get out, go and use browser, then I'll see whether you can make these thousands of connections or not. right? This is a logic that you need to make it part of your code itself. These are all countermeasures that you can use on detecting this kind of attempt, right? So if you carefully observe all the detection strategies that we got, all from the basic functionality of that particular attack or the tool. If you know how the attack works, how the tool works, then you can easily understand the attacks. Now going back onto one last tool, going back to the Windows machine for one last tool, and the very popular utility, that is a DDoS tool, right? Have you all heard about this guy called as Mafia Boy, right? So a guy who actually performed a major DDoS attack on top-notch e-commerce website back in 2000. Right? Back in 2000, he is just a beginner. He don't know what these hacking is all about. He just started using different tools, just like us watching YouTube videos here and there. Downloaded a tool, right? Configured some domain names there, clicked on a button. He didn't see anything suspicious on the screen. He went back for lunch. By the time he is back, police in front of the door, right? So he was there in jail, right, for long duration. But now he is working for government as a security consultant, and he is the party who is providing services for different companies, right? That doesn't mean that you must take inspiration from him doing some kind of DOS attack to get job. DOS attack ఇప్పుడు చేస్తే జాబ్ కాదు కదా. You will never ever get into IT domain at all. Keep security job aside. No IT job at all. If you have that bad mark, right? So back then అదేదో నడిచిపోయింది అప్పట్లో. It is not that serious there, right? But he was there in jail for certain duration, and after completing that, so he started his own activities. The tool that he used is this LOIC, low orbit ion cannon. In fact, there is a newer version for this LOIC called HOIC, high orbit ion cannon. You can freely download this from internet. Defense softwares are paid. You want Nessus vulnerability scanner, pay, right? But if you want LOIC, no pay, free. It is freely available on the internet. Of course, why these tools are encouraged? Why they are freely available on the internet? In fact, these are the same tools that network engineers use to test the network capability, right? Of course, when you are trying to download, it shows that this is kind of a malware. Don't worry, it is not a malware, right? As this is the tool that is going to damage, it is going to warn you. You can download and use it, right? So I already downloaded this onto my Windows machine. So it is here. So LOIC, let me extract this. This is the tool. Very simple to use. All you need to do is to put that domain name or IP address. Say tv9.com. I'm not going to do the attack. Just to show you, I'm adding all these options. Button ottanu. Right? Lock. It will lock that IP address for you. You can give domain name or IP address. Now you can simply choose what type of flooding you want to do. Right? On port 80 or which port. At the same time, HTTP flood or TCP flood or UDP flood, what flood you want. Number of threads, number of parallel connections you want to open. Say I want to open somewhere around 1 million connections, right? And increase speed, fast to slow. And click on this button, there the attack starts. It floods all these packets onto the target. మనం మంచోళ్ళం కాబట్టి మనం చేస్తలేం. Close. Right? Of course, this is the same tool that network engineers will use on performing network level stress test. Right? Say if you want to know whether your network is infected, can be infected with malware or not. How you will know? Only if you throw that malware on your network, you will know whether it is infected or not. Right? How can you tell that your friend is good or bad? Neeto good untadu. Right? When there is a bad situation, అప్పుడు తెలుస్తుంది. Right? Until unless you put them in that particular situation, you cannot decide. Right? మంచిగా ఉన్నంత సేపు చాక్లెట్ తెచ్చిస్తాడు, తింటాము, మంచిగా వాడికో చాక్లెట్ ఇస్తాము, బర్త్డే వచ్చినప్పుడు విజ్ చేస్తాం, అంతా బాగానే ఉంటుంది. ఏ రోజు ఎవడో వచ్చి పుల్ల పెట్టిపోతాడు, అప్పుడు తెలుస్తుంది అన్ని. రైట్? ఇఫ్ ఈజ్ రియల్లీ ఫ్రెండ్, యూ మస్ట్ నాట్ లిసన్ టు అదర్స్ వర్డ్స్. రైట్? అవునా కదా? వద్దులే ఇప్పుడు ఆ డిస్కషన్లు అని ఎందుకు. కానీ ఇట్స్ ద సేమ్ వే, ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు యూజ్ ఎనీ టూల్, రైట్, that tool should allow you to understand whether your network can withhold that attack or not. Same, if this tool is not there, we will never ever know whether our network can withhold this attack or not. If you are not testing it, all of a sudden someone sends these thousands of packets, crash ayi aro telustundi. Telisi em labam? Already damage happened. Your network infrastructure got down, damaged. Right? You need to put efforts on recovering it back. What is yet another most important countermeasure for DOS attacks? Taking backups. Right? All of a sudden your Kali Linux crashed. Then you must go back and reinstall Kali Linux from starting. If you have taken some OVA backup, it becomes very simple. Double click, load, and you can start. If not, go back and install it right from the scratch. Right? So there are defenses nowadays that can detect these DOS attacks. Right? That is the reason why they built one more tool that can bypass those defenses. That is this HOIC. So this particular tool works very similar to your LOIC, but comes with something called as boosters, which can help you on bypassing some anti-DDoS mechanisms. A lot of hardware, software related techniques that you can use on detecting DOS attacks and DDoS attacks. Right? So here also the same. You can click on add target, plus on this, add the target that you want to add, set the speed, and select boosters. There are some boosters that are already available. Right? So leave it blank if you know what you are doing. Add that domain, and once done, increase the threads. The moment you increase the threads, it turns red in color, means more parallel connections, more packets that you send, more damage that will happen. So simply clicking on this, fire this laser, it will send all these probes onto the target. You can test it on your own local device, right? Please do not do this on any of the public servers. Of course, even if you do, it will not work if they have anti-DDoS mechanism implemented. Right? As most of the organizations don't have this funds on setting up that infrastructure, right? There are chances where they can fall for this DOS attack. That is the reason why you see major portion of cyber attacks involve DOS attacks, malware attacks. Vulnerability related exploitation or service related exploitation is very less in count. Said that administrators will update the softwares more frequent, right? But DOS attacks happen not only because of the defenses that you have, but you don't have the capability to detect or handle this, right? So DOS or malware are the major cyber attacks that you will see. Got it? So with that thing said, we are finally there at the end of module 7, network pen testing. We have seen the entire process on how to do information gathering, identify vulnerabilities, exploit the target, gain access, do post-exploitation. We covered certain post-exploitation activities like persistence, privilege escalation. We'll continue with this kind of activity again in the next module from Monday's session onwards, which is Advanced Network Pen Testing Module 8. That thing said, now I open the floor for the queries or questions that you have. We'll see you all with Module 8 on Monday.
Recording stopped.